Thank you for coming to my presentation, JBang, and the presentation of the release. My name is Jordi Sola, Java developer since forever, Red Hatter and developer experience engineer for 2-3 years now. And I came here to tell you a story, the story of a hero, this handsome Java developer, savvy on GitOps, on DevOps, etc., etc. That's me 5 years ago. And then the grumpy product owner or master architect, whatever it is, pretty old. Also me in 5 years probably. And the architect requested the hero, the cavalier, to free the release of the software they are generating. The software should be available for everyone in the kingdom, but is right now prisoner for this five-headed dragon that is imposing a lot of restrictions. It's trying to avoid the release to really come true. Each head of the dragon imposes different restrictions. For example, the first one, at development time, it's requiring that the application must work on any operating system. That is, nothing native. Everything should be agnostic to the environment. The second head requires that when the application is distributed, is released, is deployed, there should be no requirements, nothing, zero requirements. You cannot assume anything in the target platform. And also requires that the installation package should be tiny, small, really, really small, like a floppy disk, nothing like that. The third head, the startup time, requires that, aligned with the second head, the dependencies should be pulled at startup time. So when users start the application, then it's the moment to download everything. And dependencies of the application, it's OK to be downloaded from Maven Central, from any standard repositories, but the application itself should be downloaded from a secure source, some place that should be protected by username, password, RSA keys, wherever. The fourth head, and that's a bit crazy, requires that users should be able to decide the version of the application, version 1, version 2, version 3, at the moment they start the application. So a user may say, OK, I want to run version 2. OK, available for you. And now, half an hour later, OK, I want version 4. Should be also available for them. And everything should be resolved at the startup time. And the last head, the fifth head, says, OK, your application comes not only with sources, but also with resources. Some files that should be made available in the system to everyone that is present in the system, to third parties or to wherever is using the resources. And also, both the application, the dependencies, and the resources should be cached. So if a user starts the application, downloads everything, and then runs the application again a second time, everything is already downloaded and available in the system. So, well, that's a big task for our cavalier, for our hero, but it bolt up and started working. So it went for the first head, saying, OK, remember, everything should work on any operating system. But if you recall, our cavalier or hero is a Java developer. You say, hey, Java already works on any system. You can have Java running on Windows, Linux, Mac, Palm OS, Android, or wherever you want. So that's an easy win for our hero. That's an easy head to defeat. But then went against the second head. And now we have two problems. First, the installation package should be small. OK, a jar file, maybe it's small enough to fit on a floppy disk. So we are not that bad. But it says, hey, no software requirements. That includes the JVM. That includes the JDK or the virtual machines in Java. So that's a problem for our hero. Say, what can I do for that? And then remember, our hero has a secret weapon, a secret tool that is JBang. What is JBang? JBang, the motto for JBang is unleash the power of Java. But it's actually a software designed to make Java work like any of those scripting languages, like Python, like Bash. So you can have code and run the code directly. So JBang allows that by providing 5 features. First thing, installation is pretty easy. You will see that installation is just a single Bash file. You need nothing more than that. JBang will set up our environment for us. We'll set up JDK, we'll set up anything we'll need in order to execute the application. Straightforward, no interaction needed. Second, we'll fetch all the dependencies for the application. So if your application depends on this library published on Maven Central or this other thing, any public place up, it will fetch it. Again, no action needed from the users. Then it will take the code, it compiles the code, generate the bytecode, and runs it, obviously. We need to run the application, indeed. And lastly, it will cache everything. It will cache the JDK, it will cache the code, it will cache the binaries, it will cache the dependencies. Let's see example. This is just a single Java file. I don't want to say JavaScript because it's confusing, but it's a script, actually. It's just code. And you can find at the top a bunch of comments. First one enables the files to be executed by JBang. So you will see in a minute that this makes your Java files executable directly on your Linux system, Windows, macOS, wherever it is. The second line, this depth here, declares the dependencies from your application. In this case, it's using Maven coordinates. Pickle.cli, it's a library in order to create command line interfaces. And the third line is defining the system, the environment. In this case, it's saying, hey, my application should run using Java version 20. You can add a lot more things, indeed, but for a simple example, that's it. And then our code, that is, in this case, just 6, 7 lines of code with a simple hello world application. And that works. With this, you just first install JBang. As I told you before, it's just a bash. In this case, it's downloading with a curl command and executing. Period. Now you have JBang available in your system. Second, runs our script. In this case, it's a Java command line interface. It downloads and installs the JDK, prepares your system and the environment, sets up everything, resolves and downloads the dependencies of the application. Once everything is resolved, builds your application, compiles the application, and finally runs it. So we have all the steps except the last one. But in the last step here, we're running again the application. As you can see, there is no download. Everything is already cached. So everything already works. So with that second weapon, or Chevalier or Hero can face everything because the install package, as I said, is just a bash file, a few keys, and no requisites. Well, not 100% true. Bash is a requisite, but well, Bash is working everywhere, isn't it? So it's not a big deal. Second head defeated. And then go for the third head. All dependencies must be pulled at runtime. But well, JBang already does that. We already show that it downloads the JDK, it just downloads the code dependencies. Even can download your application, your script, from a URL. So everything is automatically. You don't need to actually pre-download anything. An easy win for the Chevalier. But the third head requires also that the application should be downloaded in a secure fashion. And, well, the Chevalier 5 years ago was using JBang, and at that time, JBang was unable to use secure downloads. Can use HTTPS, but cannot use username and password, or cannot use RSH keys, or any other fashion ways in order to make download secure. So Chevalier started thinking, what can I do? I wish I can extend JBang in order to do that. Obviously, I can. It's open source. We can contribute, but it's sometimes not possible. But then he thought, JBang is running Java. I know Java, so why I can create a Java application that does whatever I need. I can create a script he called a bootstrap script that performs the secure download. That fetches the application in a secure fashion, and when the application is already fetched, then use JBang again to run the application. So we have two steps. The first step, run the bootstrap script with JBang, and the second step, run the application with JBang. Not that complicated, isn't it? In this case, in the case of the Chevalier, the application was in a Git repository that is protected by RSH keys with TLS. So he created this. You can see 4 lines of command, this for login, the second one for secure shell, and the third one for Git protocol. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines of code. And those 10 lines implements the Git protocol, implements the secure shell protocol, implements the SSH agent communication, implements RSH key decoding. Everything with just 10 lines of code. I don't know what you think, but for me, that's amazing. I should admit, I squeezed a bit the code in order to fit one slide, but still amazing, don't you think? So with this script, our Chevalier defeat the third head. Then went for the fourth head, say, hey, I need to be able to use different versions of the application on demand. Well, actually, that's not that complicated now that we decide how to download the application. The bootstrap script can do that. In this case, the Chevalier decided, okay, each version matches one, or is mapped to one Git tag. So with this script we already said, saying, okay, you want version 1, I download Git tag for version 1. You want version 3, download Git tag for version 3. That's it. It's a no-brainer right now. And the fifth and last head addressed that we require 2 things. First, pull resources with the application and cache everything. Again, with this bootstrap script, we can do whatever we want. We control the actual features of the script. So, okay, we need to download resources. Create a Git repository with the resources and download them. We need to place those resources in a special place. Okay, put it wherever we want. We control it. There is no actual problem with that. Another no-brainer. Cache all the things maybe it's more complicated, but not that much complicated because, as said again, we control the script. We decide what we cache. We need to cache the sources. No, we don't. JBang does that for us. We need to cache GTK. No, JBang does that for us. We need to cache binaries. No, JBang does that for us. The only thing we actually need to cache is resources. But it's not a big deal. We can use this XDG-based directory specification to do that. Probably you remember having home-.cache or home.-config in your system that stores things. This is the XDG-based specification, and this is standard in order to store things across your system. So Chevalier decided, hey, I can store things here, and it's available to everyone. And he did it, and finally defeated the fifth head and lastly the dragon. Summarizing, he used Java for running everywhere. He used JBang for setting up the system, setting up the dependencies, caching everything, compiling and running. And the rest, startup time, bootstraps, etc., he created a script that solves everything. Let's be true, that's the case of our Chevalier. That's a special case, and that's the case I'm here to show you. And maybe this case is not exactly your situation, but it's not a big deal. As you saw, this was solved with 10 lines of code. If you have a special requirement, something that should be done different, you're not using Git, you're using WebDAV, FTP, whatever it is. Probably, or most surely, you already have a library on Maven or in Gradle that solves that. Use that, period. You really have everything in order to use that, so don't be afraid to use that. And what's the moral of this story? Because obviously, every story should be having a moral. For me, JBang is cool. That's one of the most important things. JBang is a very, very, very powerful tool that allows you to create scripts, to set up environments, to compile, to run, to force the users to use special flags of JVM. Can do a lot of things. They have an incredible amount of features. I didn't go through all the features because I only have 10 minutes, and we can be talking about that for hours. But the best thing, if there is a feature that is not available in JBang, create it. It's just Java. If you know a bit of Java, you just create a script, and you have the features that you may need. Second morale. Sometimes you will be required to use software, specialized software and very complicated software to solve your requirements. Most of the time it's not needed. Most of the time, simple tools can do simple tasks easily. In this case, Git solved the distribution, solved the release, because it's enough, and because our Chevalier didn't have any binaries to distribute. It always has been distributing source code, scripts, and text resources. So Git is a good option. But please, please, priority please, if you have binaries to distribute, don't use Git, because, well, Git will struggle a bit when you're using binaries. And the third, and for me the most important moral here, is use whatever you already know. There are a lot of tools, there are a lot of technologies. It's almost impossible to know every single tool, every single new thing that comes in the market, but we already know a lot of things. And we already know things that are very powerful. So give these tools, give these technologies you already know a chance, because sometimes you will be surprised. Sometimes you will have something as simple as JBang that is targeted to, hey, create scripts, and you can make it a distribution system that solves extraneous and complicated requirements. And that's it for me. I went a bit fast because we are a bit short of time, and I want to give you some time for questions if you want, but else, you have my contact, you have my QR code, and you can ask me anything. Thank you.
So, any questions? Okay. Thank you very much, Jordi.
Thank you.